that little snippet?
Well, I didn't write it. I improvised it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So you're just there standing with Eric Stoltz?
That's not Eric Stoltz, GD.
But that was the guy in Mask, though, right?
No, that's not the guy. I mean, he's in that movie, but that's not him.
In Hollywood, most directors learn to compromise. They bend, they negotiate, they keep the peace. But Quentin Tarantino never learned that lesson. At 62, the maverick filmmaker who gave us Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, and Django Unchained has spent 3 decades building a reputation as brilliant as he is unforgiving. When the chemistry works, actors become legends in his films. When it doesn't, they disappear from his world entirely, sometimes after just one disagreement. Tarantino doesn't simply replace actors who don't fit his vision. He erases them. No second chances, no reconciliations, just a permanent exile from one of cinema's most exclusive clubs. Behind those genre-bending masterpieces and razor-sharp dialogue lies a director with an iron will and an unshakable belief in his artistic vision. Cross that line, and you're not just fired, you're forgotten. Today, we're examining 6 accomplished actors who found themselves on the wrong side of Tarantino's uncompromising standards. These aren't tales of simple creative differences. They're stories of permanent professional divorces that reveal the price of challenging one of Hollywood's most demanding auteurs. Lawrence Tierney should have been perfect for Reservoir Dogs. The grizzled actor had made his name in 1940s film noir, playing tough guys and criminals with a stone-cold menace that seemed tailor-made for Tarantino's debut feature. Cast as Joe Cabot, the crime boss orchestrating the diamond heist, Tierney brought decades of experience to the small-budget production. But experience couldn't mask the chaos that followed. From the first day of filming, Tierney proved impossible to work with. At 72, the veteran actor arrived on set unprepared, forgetting his lines and growing increasingly hostile toward the young cast and crew. What started as minor friction quickly escalated into full-blown confrontations. The breaking point came during a seemingly routine scene. Tierney disagreed with Tarantino's direction, and what should have been a brief discussion turned into a screaming match heard throughout the warehouse location. Witnesses described Tierney as belligerent and unpredictable, lashing out at anyone who tried to reason with him. When Tarantino finally walked off the set in frustration, he made a decision that would define his career approach. He fired Tierney immediately. Michael Madsen, who played Mr. Blonde, later recalled how Tierney's volatile presence poisoned the atmosphere. Every day became a gamble. Would they complete their scenes before the next explosion? For a 29-year-old director trying to establish his authority on his first feature film, Tierney's behavior was intolerable. The dismissal was swift and final. Tarantino replaced Tierney with Lawrence Bender, and the production continued without looking back. Even after Reservoir Dogs became a cultural phenomenon, launching careers and redefining independent cinema, Tarantino never spoke fondly of Tierney in interviews. There were no amusing anecdotes or respectful tributes, just silence where Tierney's contribution should have been acknowledged. Bruce Willis came to Pulp Fiction at a crossroads. The die-hard star had suffered through a string of critical and commercial failures, including Hudson Hawk, Color of Night, and Striking Distance. His career needed a creative jolt, and Tarantino provided it with the role of Butch Coolidge, the aging boxer caught in a web of criminal obligations. The performance revitalized Willis's career, earning him critical acclaim and proving he could handle complex, character-driven material. But despite this professional resurrection, Willis never returned to the Tarantino universe. A conspicuous absence considering the director's habit of building a repertory company of trusted actors. Behind the scenes, tensions simmered throughout the production. Willis, accustomed to the star treatment and creative input that came with his A-list status, clashed with Tarantino's rigid adherence to his written word. The director's scripts are sacred documents, every pause, every inflection carefully crafted. Willis, known for his improvisational skills and sardonic wit, sometimes strayed from the precise rhythm Tarantino demanded. Crew members noticed the friction. While John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson embraced Tarantino's intense directing style and became lifelong collaborators, Willis remained professionally distant. There was no bonding over shared cinematic passions, no discussions of future projects, just a working relationship that ended when the camera stopped rolling. In subsequent interviews about Pulp Fiction, Tarantino consistently praised the ensemble cast, but seemed to orbit around Willis's name. The omission wasn't accidental. For a director who regularly recycles his favorite actors across multiple films, Willis's absence from later projects spoke volumes about their working relationship. Willis, for his part, maintained professional discretion. He never publicly criticized Tarantino, but he also never gushed about the experience that helped save his career. A curious silence from an actor who typically embraced projects that showcased his range. George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino seemed destined for a successful partnership. Their collaboration on From Dusk Till Dawn paired Clooney's post-ER movie ambitions with Tarantino's genre-blending screenplay about bank robbers who encounter vampires. The film became a cult favorite, launching Clooney's transition from television heartthrob to movie star. Yet this promising beginning led nowhere. Despite the film's success and Clooney's subsequent rise to Hollywood royalty, Tarantino never cast him again. The reason became clear years later when Tarantino made a blunt assessment that shattered any pretense of mutual respect. In a candid interview, Tarantino declared that George Clooney is not a movie star. The comment wasn't made in passing or taken out of context. It was a deliberate dismissal of Clooney's entire screen presence. Tarantino challenged critics to name any of Clooney's truly great films from the 2000s onward, essentially arguing that the actor coasted on charisma rather than delivering transformative performances. Clooney didn't remain silent. He publicly expressed his irritation with Tarantino's assessment, defending his body of work and subtly reminding the director that films like Ocean's 11, Syriana, and Michael Clayton weren't exactly minor efforts. But the damage was irreversible. The dispute revealed a fundamental philosophical divide. Tarantino prizes actors who completely disappear into their roles, who bring danger and unpredictability to their performances. Clooney, in Tarantino's view, represented Hollywood polish, smooth, bankable, and safe. These qualities, which made Clooney one of the industry's most reliable leading men, were precisely what Tarantino found objectionable. After From Dusk Till Dawn, Clooney never appeared in another Tarantino project. No cameos, no callbacks, not even rumors of potential collaborations. For a director who frequently brings back the same actors across decades, this absence constituted a clear statement. Clooney went on to win Academy Awards as both an actor and producer, but his name vanished from Tarantino's vocabulary as completely as if their partnership had never existed. The conflict between Spike Lee and Quentin Tarantino transcended typical Hollywood disagreements. This was a public battle over race, artistic responsibility, and who has the right to tell certain stories. Both directors were acclaimed auteurs with strong opinions and no hesitation about expressing them. The tension began building when Tarantino's Jackie Brown hit theaters in 1997. Spike Lee, never one to hold back his opinions, took direct aim at Tarantino's frequent use of racial slurs in his dialogue. "I'm not against the word," Lee said, "and I use it, but Quentin is infatuated with that word. What does he want to be made, an honorary black man?" Tarantino responded with characteristic bluntness. "If Spike Lee can't appreciate Jackie Brown, then I'm sorry for him," he declared. "He has no right to tell any other artist what they can or cannot say." Then came the line that made headlines and burned bridges. "Spike needs to shut the hell up." The feud escalated when Django Unchained premiered in 2012. Lee condemned the film before even watching it, calling it disrespectful to his ancestors and announcing his refusal to see it. Tarantino fired back with perhaps his most inflammatory comment. "I think his problem is that I'm doing it better than he is. He's just mad because I'm making the black movies he wishes he could make." This wasn't merely creative disagreement, it was professional warfare. The comment revealed Tarantino's belief in his own artistic supremacy and his willingness to dismiss even accomplished peers who challenged his methods. Lee, a pioneering director who had been exploring African-American experiences in cinema since the 1980s, was essentially told he was inferior at telling stories from his own cultural perspective. The aftermath was complete separation. Despite both men continuing to work at the highest levels of American cinema, their paths never crossed again. No festival appearances together, no mutual interviews, no acknowledgement of each other's work. In an industry where feuds often fade with time and success, this divide proved permanent. Steve Buscemi helped launch Tarantino's career with his unforgettable performance as Mr. Pink in Reservoir Dogs. His rapid-fire delivery of the famous tipping monologue became one of independent cinema's most quoted scenes. Yet, despite this early loyalty and his obvious talent, Buscemi quietly disappeared from Tarantino's world after that single film. The most persistent explanation for Buscemi's exile involves that very tipping scene. In the film's opening, Mr. Pink refuses to tip waitresses, arguing that society shouldn't obligate customers to supplement service workers' wages. The scene was memorable and provocative, but some crew members suggested the dialogue reflected Buscemi's actual views expressed off-camera during production. According to industry insiders, Buscemi had voiced similar sentiments about tipping during the shoot, and Tarantino didn't forget. The director allegedly joked years later that if Buscemi wanted back into one of his films, he'd have to play a waiter, a role that never materialized. The evidence of Buscemi's exile became clear when Pulp Fiction went into production. While other Reservoir Dogs alumni like Michael Madsen and Tim Roth became recurring players in Tarantino's repertory company, Buscemi wasn't even considered for roles. For a director known for rewarding loyalty and reusing trusted actors, this absence was telling. Buscemi never complained publicly about his exclusion. He went on to deliver acclaimed performances in Fargo, Ghost World, and Boardwalk Empire, establishing himself as one of America's most respected character actors. But fans noticed he was never mentioned in connection with Tarantino's later projects, not even for small cameos that might have suited his distinctive screen presence. When asked about his relationship with Tarantino in a brief interview years later, Buscemi offered only polite distance. "I haven't heard from Quentin in a long time, but I wish him well." The comment was diplomatic but revealed the complete absence of ongoing friendship or professional connection. Warren Beatty almost played Bill in Kill Bill. The legendary actor, director, and producer seemed perfect for the role of the philosophical assassin, a character Tarantino had specifically crafted around Beatty's sophisticated screen presence and legendary cool. The collaboration promised to unite two of Hollywood's most uncompromising auteurs. The partnership collapsed before filming began. Beatty, himself an accomplished director of films like Reds and Heaven Can Wait, approached the role with his typical hands-on involvement. He offered suggestions for the character, proposed dialogue changes, and wanted to discuss the script's thematic elements. For most directors, such input from an Oscar-winning talent would be welcomed. For Tarantino, it was intolerable interference. David Carradine, who ultimately replaced Beatty as Bill, later described the conflict. "Warren was trying to direct the director, and Quentin doesn't play that." The observation captured the essential problem: two strong creative personalities with incompatible approaches to collaboration. Tarantino never publicly criticized Beatty, but his explanation for the casting change revealed everything. "It wasn't going to work. I needed someone who understood it wasn't their story." The comment exposed Tarantino's fundamental requirement for total creative control. Every word, every scene, every character belonged to him alone. Carradine noted that Tarantino seemed energized after parting ways with Beatty, as if a creative weight had been lifted. The director's vision for Bill required an actor who would surrender completely to the written role, not one who sought to reshape it through collaboration. The separation was handled with professional discretion. No press releases, no public statements, just a quiet replacement that attracted little attention outside industry circles. Beatty never spoke about the experience, maintaining the dignified silence that had characterized his decades-long career. For Tarantino, the incident reinforced his approach to filmmaking. Directors serve the story, actors serve the director, and everyone serves the vision. Deviation from this hierarchy, regardless of the actor's stature or experience, results in immediate exclusion. At 62, Quentin Tarantino has created some of cinema's most memorable characters and dialogue, but he's also demonstrated that talent alone isn't enough to secure a place in his artistic universe. Whether it's Lawrence Tierney's volatile behavior, Bruce Willis's subtle resistance to direction, or Warren Beatty's collaborative instincts, any deviation from Tarantino's exacting standards results in permanent exile. These 6 actors represent different types of creative conflict, but they share a common fate: complete erasure from Tarantino's ongoing story. In an industry built on second chances and renewed partnerships, such permanent separations are rare. They reveal a director who views filmmaking not as collaborative art, but as personal expression requiring absolute loyalty. The irony is striking. Tarantino has created a body of work celebrated for its complex characters and moral ambiguity, yet his real-world relationships with actors often lack such nuance. There are no gray areas in his professional universe. You're either in or you're out, trusted or banished, remembered or forgotten. Perhaps this uncompromising approach is what enables Tarantino to create such distinctive films. Or perhaps it's simply the cost of working with a genius who has never learned to bend. Either way, these 6 actors learned that crossing Quentin Tarantino doesn't just end a working relationship, it rewrites cinematic history as if you were never there at all.